I used to think those viral videos of weird things happening at Walmart were just staged for clicks. You know the ones I'm talking about, the bizarre encounters, strange shoppers, and odd situations that seem too surreal to be true. I laughed at them like everyone else, until it happened to me. It was a Thursday night in November. Around 10:30 p.m., I needed to pick up some cold medicine and groceries, and the 24-hour Walmart Supercenter on the edge of town was my only option. I didn't think twice about going. After all, I'd been to this store hundreds of times before. The parking lot was about half full, typical for a weeknight. I found a spot in one of the middle rows, not too far from the entrance, but not right up front either. I remember checking my phone before getting out of the car. It was 10:37 p.m. The store was brightly lit as always, that familiar fluorescent glow that somehow makes everything look both sterile and slightly off. I grabbed a basket and headed straight for the pharmacy section. Got my medicine, picked up some soup, bread, and orange juice, the essentials when you're fighting a cold. I paid at the self-checkout and was back in the parking lot. By 11:02 p.m., I remember checking the time because I was proud of how quickly I'd managed to get in and out. That's when I noticed something was different. The parking lot was darker then. When I'd arrived, much darker. Several of the overhead lights had been turned off, leaving large patches of the lot in near complete darkness. My car was parked in one of those dark patches. I clutched my bag tighter and started walking. That's when I heard the engine. A white van was idling a few spaces away from my car. No headlights, just the soft rumble of an engine. I couldn't see inside. The windows were tinted, but I could make out silhouettes of at least two people. Every true crime podcast I'd ever listened to started playing in my head at once. I stopped walking. The van didn't move. I took out my phone, pretending to make a call, speaking loudly about how I was just walking to my car now. And yes, I can still see you waiting for me. No one was on the other end, but the van's occupants didn't know that. I changed direction, walking back toward the store entrance where there was better lighting and other people. As soon as I turned around, the van's headlights flicked on, and it slowly started moving in my direction. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I wasn't going to make it back to the entrance before the van reached me. So I did the only thing I could think of. I ducked between two parked cars and crouched down, still pretending to be on the phone, now loudly saying, "Yeah, I see that. White van. Can you see it on the security cameras? What's the license plate? Let me check." The van slowed to a crawl, passing by my hiding spot. I caught a glimpse of the driver, a man in his 40s or 50s with a baseball cap pulled low. He was scanning the area, looking for me. I stayed hidden until the van circled around to another row. Then I ran, not to my car, but back to the store. Inside, I went straight to customer service and asked for security. The young employee looked bored until I explained what was happening, and then his expression changed. He called for the manager and security over his radio. The security guard, an older man with a kind face, listened to my story and immediately walked me to a back office. The manager, a woman in her 30s, joined us. They pulled up the parking lot security footage. What we saw made my blood run cold. The van had been circling the parking lot for almost 45 minutes before I even arrived at the store. The footage showed it following another woman earlier, but a group of employees heading to their cars seemed to have deterred them. Then the van parked and waited, right next to my car, after I entered the store. "This isn't the first time," the manager said quietly. "We've had reports of a similar van in this lot over the past few weeks. Police have increased patrols, but ... The security guard called the police, who arrived within minutes. They took my statement and reviewed the footage. One officer told me they'd been investigating a potential trafficking operation in the area, with reports of women being approached or followed in shopping center parking lots. They escorted me to my car, with 2 police cruisers, lights flashing. The van was nowhere to be seen. I found out later that week that a woman had been abducted from a different store's parking lot just 20 miles away, 2 nights after my experience. She was found alive a week later, traumatized but physically okay. The details weren't released, but local news mentioned that arrests had been made. I don't know if it was the same van. I don't know if I was almost a victim of trafficking, robbery, or something else entirely. What I do know is that I no longer shop alone at night. I don't walk to my car without my keys already in hand, phone ready to call for help. I park under lights near store entrances, and I no longer laugh at those weird Walmart stories. Because sometimes, the horror isn't the strange people shopping in pajamas or the odd things happening in the aisles. Sometimes, the real danger is waiting in the parking lot, engine idling, watching for someone just like you, someone who thinks it could never happen to them. I've shopped at Walmart my entire life. So have my parents, and probably their parents too. It's as American as apple pie or mounting medical debt. I never thought twice about it. Just another mundane errand in my already packed life. Until 3 months ago, when something happened that I still can't fully explain. My name is Alex. I'm 34, divorced, and I work in IT for a mid-sized insurance company in Nebraska. My life is unremarkable in almost every way, which is probably why what happened stands out so vividly in my memory. Sometimes the most terrifying things happen in the most ordinary places. It was a Wednesday evening in February. One of those bitter cold Midwestern winter nights where the wind cuts right through you. I just finished a late shift debugging some accounting software and decided to stop by Walmart on my way home to pick up a few essentials. The store was open until midnight, and it was around 10:30 p.m. when I pulled into the parking lot. The store was relatively empty, as you'd expect for that time of night. Just a few cars scattered across the vast parking lot, their owners probably night shift workers or insomniacs like me, grabbing necessities before heading home. I parked near the entrance, one of the small perks of late-night shopping. Inside, the store had that distinct late-night vibe that anyone who's ever been to a 24-hour retailer after dark knows well. The fluorescent lights seemed harsher, the aisles longer, the ceiling higher. A few employees restocked shelves or mopped floors. A tired-looking cashier scrolled through her phone at the only open register. Classic rock played softly over the speakers. Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult. In retrospect, that seems a little too on the nose. I grabbed a basket and headed toward the grocery section. My list was simple: bread, milk, coffee, maybe some frozen dinners. The kind of shopping you do when you live alone and cooking for one seems like more effort than it's worth. Was in the bread aisle when I first noticed something odd. The music had stopped. Not faded out between songs, just cut off abruptly mid-guitar solo. I didn't think much of it at first. Technical glitches happen all the time, especially in places like this. Then I heard it. A voice over the intercom. Alex. Just my name. Nothing else. No customer service needed or employee assistance requested. Just Alex, spoken softly but clearly. I froze, bread in hand. It had to be a coincidence. Alex is a common name. Someone was probably calling for an employee. I continued shopping, but the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Something felt off. 5 minutes later, I was in the dairy section when it happened again. Alex, we see you. This time, there was no mistaking it. The voice was addressing me. I looked around, expecting to see someone I knew playing a prank, but there was no one. Just an elderly woman at the far end of the aisle and a teenage employee, stocking yogurt, who didn't seem to have heard anything. I approached the employee. Did you hear that announcement? He pulled out one earbud. Huh? No, sorry. I wasn't paying attention. I explained what I'd heard, and he shrugged. The intercom's been acting weird all week. Yesterday, it kept making this static noise that sounded like someone breathing. Creepy stuff. Management says they're fixing it tomorrow. His explanation should have comforted me, but it didn't. I decided to finish my shopping quickly and get out of there. As I moved toward the frozen food section, the lights flickered briefly. Just once, but enough to make my heart race. The store seemed emptier now. I couldn't see any other customers, and even the employees seemed to have vanished. Just me and the endless aisles of products stretching out in all directions. I turned, down aisle 7, frozen meals, and stopped dead in my tracks. At the far end of the aisle stood a figure. It was difficult to make out details from that distance, but it appeared to be a person in a Walmart vest. They were completely still, facing my direction. "Hello?" I called out. No response. No movement. Told myself it was just an employee doing inventory or something, but my instincts were screaming at me to turn around and find another aisle. Instead, I took a few cautious steps forward. The intercom crackled to life again. "Alex, aisle 7. We've been waiting for you." The voice was different this time. Lower, almost distorted, like someone speaking through a fan. The figure at the end of the aisle still hadn't moved. That was enough for me. I turned around, ready to abandon my shopping and leave, when I noticed another figure had appeared at the end of the aisle behind me. Also in a Walmart vest, also completely still. My heart was pounding now. I was trapped between them. I pulled out my phone to call 911, but there was no signal. Not a single bar. I'd had full service in the parking lot just 20 minutes earlier. "Hello?" I called out again, louder this time. "I need to get through, please." Slowly, both figures began walking toward me from opposite ends of the aisle. Their movements were odd, stiff, mechanical, almost like stop-motion animation. As they got closer, I could make out their faces, or rather, the lack thereof. Where their features should have been was just smooth, blank skin. No eyes, no mouth, no nose. Just the suggestion of a face, like an unfinished mannequin. I backed, up against the freezer doors, the cold glass pressing against my back. The figures were about 20 feet away on either side now, still approaching slowly. The intercom crackled again. "Alex, this is where it happened. Do you remember?" I had no idea what the voice was talking about. I'd never had anything happen at this Walmart. I'd been shopping here for years without incident, and something clicked in my memory. This store had been in the news about 10 years ago. A shooting. 3 employees and 2 customers killed by a former worker who then turned the gun on himself. It had happened in the frozen food section. In aisle 7, I felt lightheaded. The air seemed to get thicker, harder to breathe. The figures were now close enough that I could see the name tags on their vests. Both read Alex in block letters. I made a split-second decision and bolted between them, running as fast as I could toward the front of the store. I expected to feel hands grabbing me, but nothing happened. I didn't look back when I reached the front. The cashier was still there, still scrolling through her phone as if nothing unusual had happened. "Excuse me," I gasped, out of breath. "There are 2 people or things back there. In the vests, they don't have faces." She looked up at me, confused. "Sir, are you okay? Call security, please. There's something wrong in aisle 7. She picked up a phone and called for a manager. A minute later, a heavy-set man in his 50s approached. "Is there a problem?" he asked, looking between me and the cashier. I explained what had happened as calmly as I could. The manager and cashier exchanged a look I couldn't quite interpret. "Sir, there's no one working aisle 7 tonight," the manager said slowly. "And our intercom system has been out of order for 2 days now. We've had a technician scheduled to come tomorrow." But I heard it, and I saw them. 2 employees with no faces. The manager's expression changed from concern to something more guarded. "Let me check it out. Melissa, stay here with him." The manager walked toward the back of the store. The cashier, Melissa, offered me a bottle of water, which I accepted gratefully. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely open it. "The anniversary is next week," she said quietly after a moment. "What?" "The shooting. It happened 10 years ago next Tuesday. Right back there in frozen foods." Before I could respond, the manager returned. "There's no one back there, sir." I checked all the aisles, including 7. Everything's normal. I didn't know what to say. I knew what I'd seen, what I'd heard. "Would you like me to call someone for you?" the manager asked. "Or maybe walk you to your car?" I declined. paid for the few items still in my basket, and left. The entire drive. Home, I kept checking my rearview mirror, convinced I'd see a faceless figure in a Walmart vest following me. I slept with the lights on that night, and the next. For weeks afterward, I ordered my groceries online for delivery. I couldn't bring myself to go back to that Walmart, or any Walmart for that matter. A month later, curiosity got the better of me. I researched the shooting online. It had indeed happened 10 years ago, exactly as I remembered. 5 victims, plus the shooter. News articles included photos of those who died. I scrolled through them, feeling a twinge of sadness for lives cut short by senseless violence. Then I saw it, the last victim. A 24-year-old customer named Alexander Jensen. Same as my full name. He had been in the wrong place at the wrong time, getting ice cream from the freezer in aisle 7. The article included a photo. I stared at it for a long time, my blood turning to ice in my veins. Alexander Jensen looked exactly like me. Not similar, identical. Same eyes, same nose, same slightly crooked smile. It was like looking in a mirror. But that was impossible. I was 34, not 24. I was alive, not dead. I had memories of the last decade, my job, my failed marriage, my life. I existed, didn't I? I've spent the 3 months since that night questioning everything. My memories, my identity, my reality. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, convinced. I can hear that distorted voice over an intercom. Alex, we've been waiting for you. I still don't know what happened in that Walmart. Was it a hallucination? A bizarre coincidence? Or something more sinister? All I know is that I avoid aisle 7 in every store I enter now. And when I hear, "Don't fear the Reaper" on the radio, I change the station immediately. Sometimes I think about going back, facing whatever waits for me there, finding answers. But then I remember those blank faces, those stiff movements, that voice saying, "This is where it happened. Do you remember?" And I realize some questions are better left unanswered.